Okay, don't burp. Don't smack your teeth or smack your lips. Hi everybody. After listening to my first episode, I decided I just want to switch the format a lot. I did this like formal format in my first episode, and I just didn't feel like whatever about it. I just didn't really care. I wanted to do a Phil Sanders podcast, a Phil Sanders unicycle podcast, and that's what this is going to become. I'm going to have a little bit of trouble with this as it develops because I am gonna be doing both video and audio at the same time, and so sometimes there will be audio differences in the audio recording compared to the video. And then in case this one's gonna be a bit more video oriented, this is gonna be my weird parts podcast, just talking about some of the weird parts I've collected. I want to show them off and I'll talk about them and describe them really well in audio. But obviously, if you're listening to this on audio, there's also going to be a YouTube version of this. It might be more interesting to watch if you haven't done so. My first one I did really light, and it was like, oh, professional. Oh, I'm a unicyclist. And, look at these things. And if you're looking for more information, check this stuff out. But I don't give a crap. I mean, I do care about that. If you're looking for unicycle information, go and look for it. But I also just want to talk about unicycling because that's what I like to do. So I'm going to go with a few different parts today that are some of my favorite weird parts that I've collected over the years. Some of them are going to be that weird, but some of them might be weird, like really weird. And I don't even have all the weird parts I wanted to talk about today because I got them all together and I left them at home. Or not at home. I left them at work. I don't know. I just this whole thing. I left it at work. So I went through my house and I found some of the weird parts that I actually want to use. So without further ado, this is going to be Unicycle Phil by Himself MIDI podcast, Unicast. It's called the Unicast. That's what it's going to be. Everyone's got their clever name. That's going to be my clever name, is Unicast. If you guys don't know, we already have a few episodes. This whole thing started out with a few interviews at Unicon in San Sebastian, Spain. Those episodes are out. You can go back and check those out if you haven't already. Fun interviews with writers at one of the last Unicons. Hopefully we'll be doing more writer interviews in the future. I also might be trying to track down a podcast, co-host, co-talker. I don't know. But if you're interested in talking with me, I'm hoping to do interviews with writers and stuff like that in the future. We're just getting started, guys. I have my whole life ahead of me. Who knows? Maybe a whole pandemic to be recording all this stuff with. So here we go. We'll start off easy. We'll start off really light. Okay, this is one of my weird ones. I could have thrown this away, and I almost did. But when you have something like this and you know where it came from, you just can't throw it away. So right here I have it's a 102 millimeter Miata crank. It might be a semi-cycle crank. I think it is a Miata though. Maybe somebody has the actual. I know it's kind of old. I know it's a little on the old side. Let's take a look at this shape. Someone out there, you can see the left stamped right in there. This was like a really nice freestyle crank back in the day. And for anyone who's wondering, this was one of the cranks for Dan Heaton's original freestyle unicycle. I don't know which version of his freestyle unicycle, but I was given this by Dan Heaton on a wheel long ago. And I just cannot part with it because it is Dan Heaton's freestyle crank. I don't know if anyone's into that stupid stuff, but I am. So here we are. If anyone wants this crank, I don't know. Maybe it's for sale. I don't know, for the right price to the right person. And if anyone doesn't believe me, I actually have the whole thing over here. Let me grab it really quick. I had a couple parts on my lap because I wanted to do this stuff. But I'll just show you the whole unicycle because it's like right here. It doesn't work anymore. When I tried to put it back together, rookie move, I know. But it's got the square tapered, obviously, hub. And when I went to put the bolt on years and years ago, one of the sides stripped out because it's just an old, crappy chromoly hub. But here it is. It's a Miata. So the frame isn't the same. There was a flamingo frame. I don't know where it went. It's around here somewhere. But you can see it's got the freestyle extender. Bam, bam, bam. And then, of course, the Miata seat. Super classic. Can't miss that. You know, I should have started with the seat. So yeah, if you want Dan Heaton's Miata freestyle seat, I also have that. But I also am probably just gonna keep on to it. I'm not trying to sell and huck Dan Heaton's old unicycle parts for money during this pandemic. Help, guys. But you know, it's still fun to talk about. Next up here, what gets less weird. If anyone sees has already, you know, I have a history of breaking things. But I was in Australia for unicycling one of those years, and the Australian unicycle.com had a sale on only one part when I was in there. Nothing else was in sale except for this one part. And it was all of their Chris Home A-Sim cranks. You can see here, or I guess the Sim cranks? I can't remember. I think the A-Sims didn't have the nub and the Sim cranks had the nub. Anyways, you can see I have two right cranks. I always break my left crank. I grind on it. I stall on it. I don't know how I think when you catch tricks, you catch it more in your back foot, and so it's like more torque and more crank. And so, hey, you know, if anyone out there has lots of left cranks, I could totally use some, you know, left cranks by comparison. Yeah, obviously I chopped off the knobs myself, cleaned them up a little bit, and honestly, when you chop the knobs off, these are some wonderful 130 millimeter cranks, very comparable to, like, say, you know, the Groovies or something like that, in my opinion. But they are steel and they are heavy, but you know, they are also super strong. Up next, this isn't that weird. People have these. I just have a broken one. But this is my axle carbon fiber base. I only broke it, I think, last winter. I have a clip of it somewhere. 2018, maybe 2019. Doing some flip tricks down a little set. And after, I think, 5 or maybe 6 years of riding, I finally got into some bigger full-out flips. And I jumped off the staircase and landed and snapped the nose right off. One thing I really enjoy with carbon bases, you know, this isn't for everyone. I just like to work on my own unicycles a lot. But I file out and fit up my own carbon fiber bases with the nuts so you can put Allen bolts directly up into it rather than the I don't know what you call those square taper bolts that go down and you have to use acorn nuts to come up. But I've always enjoyed this. You can see after years of riding, one of those in particular got really, really sucked into the seat. That's on the right side. I'm right side. I don't know if, like, when you're jumping, you just pull a little harder on your dominant side. But this is probably my all-time favorite base. Like, oh, look how thick the carbon fiber is. It's like pretty thick to everything. Here's a seat post clamp to compare it to. You want to see how, like, thick the carbon fiber is. Bruno doesn't know. You can see I got some splits on here. And this rubber on the sides was just to glue on and give it a little edge so the carbon fiber didn't have a sharp edge on it. Hey, I wish the axle bases were still around. Okay, getting a little weirder now. A little weirder. Something that a lot of people probably don't have. These are specifically for my club. I am still building a unicycle for these to go on to. But I got these in Canada. These are a Chris Home 100 millimeter moment crank. Moment crank, not a spirit crank. 100 millimeter moment crank. Maybe one of the strongest freestyle cranks out there. I think they're 100 millimeter. They don't say on them. I think they might have been maybe a prototype or something like that. Oh, big grooves in there. So if anyone's looking to make themselves a super strong, frankly, the way that street's going nowadays, these might be a street crank now. And then in that case, I might keep them, put them on a little unicycle for myself. But you know, you didn't think moments were so. And interesting too at these moments is they, I've personally never used these, but they were obviously used by somebody else. But you can see they don't have any crank inserts. It's just straight threads, which is not something that was normal for the moment crank, as you guys might know. So who knows? Maybe if we're floating around in the unicycle, we can do a little trade. If you really want to try the 100 millimeter moment crank, something that you might not have seen around in the world too much. Uh, I don't know what the unicycle world would think was cooler. Because I say these last two. Um, uh, I'm gonna go with the one that I like. So I worked with a college student friend of mine who I met at the climbing gym a long time ago. Not a long time ago, a little while ago. And he was really into 3D printing, and we were talking about it, and he asked me for ideas on a project. I told him I was interested in 3D printing, and he designed it all. I can't take any credit, just the idea. And it's not even my idea. It's like Marco's idea. I can't steal it. But I asked if he would design a 3D printed handle saddle. And the idea was that we could take this handle saddle that was 3D printed and then use that handle saddle to wrap wrap with carbon fiber or fiberglass and use like a 3D printed base that is then reinforced with carbon fiber or even maybe fiberglass or a combination of the two. And this handle saddle was ready to go straight onto a seat post. So you didn't have to have any extra things to attach it. It was all printed ready to go. So are you ready? This is 100% custom. Obviously, all the credit for the handle saddle goes to Marco from Mad for One Uni. Not trying to copy, not trying to make money off of it. Just wanted to experiment with the idea. And so this is what we came up with. Now, this didn't last very long. I literally he printed it. And then I tried just delicately to use it, and it snapped. But I glued it back together just for this demonstration. And we have right here a printed pink 3D printed handle saddle, just like that. Oh yeah, it says Phil on Uni. That's my handle for a lot of things. If you want to follow me on stuff. Sorry about the camera. I'm not technologically inclined, so I can't get to stop autofocusing. Hey, if you know how to do that, help a brother out. Hit me up. So you can see here, 3D printed. I really like the shape he made here for like the handle divots. Just like so. It's a little bit of room here. You could add padding or foam to it. You could wrap it yourself. You can see it snapped here because the way it printed was like this. And obviously just those lines going across. And so, it snapped really easily with almost no force on it. But it feels like pretty strong. This one was just like a rugged first try. Cool bottom here that actually, if I'm not mistaken, it is sloped enough, even though it looks a little flat here, to go on a seat post. And if it's not, it might have just been an error of printing. But if, hey, anyone's interested in a little bit more 3D printing experiment, I do have the authentic file for this if you would like to mess around with some more 3D printing of a handle saddle. I do like this idea. I have never even got to use a handle saddle. I kind of made a really crappy steel one. Maybe that'll come up later. It's just not that cool. It's not worth showing off, not comparatively. Oh, excuse me. I have a straggler. That's Ripley. She'll probably be around for the podcast here and there. If she makes noises, I mean, she lives here. This is her house too. So weird 3D printed handle saddle. I think the handle saddle is an item in the unicycle world that needs to be looked into more, but more on that later. This will be the last one for the day. We'll keep this episode short just for fun. You all saw it. I didn't point it out. The last one I have is one of my favorite weird parts. It's like this is like episode 1, episode 2 of the podcast. Who knows what it will be, but I love this part, and I don't have like the skills or the know-how to make this happen more, but I think this frame has a future in unicycling. I gave it away. It's a frame. So this is the prototype EB Unicycles aluminum unicycle frame. You can see we have the classic EB, like all one shape cutout fork. Normally the carbon fiber piece would come out here. I snapped it off. I snapped it off after only a few rides. I was told by Spencer Hochberg that they believe there was like an issue with how they were finishing this frame, and they said it was a lot of work to get it going, and that's why they didn't follow through with it. But maybe he'd be interested in sharing some of his info or data on this frame. But the coolest thing about it, okay, coming back, E.B. Erickson Brothers unicycles for a very brief period in time. They made carbon fiber, aluminum, you know, unicycles with like this cross piece that was aluminum, and then the rest of it being carbon fiber. And this was their prototype to make an aluminum frame. I'm gonna have to edit the crap out of this later. But the coolest part is this: the quick release bearing caps. Okay, you can see here they got the cool angles and shapes to them, and then they have a hinge piece. Works really well. And I'll just show you really quick here. I'll do the camera side. But it's super easy. You just have to loosen them a tiny bit. If I'm using the right Allen key. Bike tool time. Do you like my light casting shadows? It's because I'm a professional, guys. I'm a professional unicyclist who, I'm not a professional unicyclist, just an amateur. Just a rough amateur. EB unicycle, here we go. 5mm. Yeah, you just unscrew it just a little bit. It doesn't even have to go very far, which I think is super awesome. And then, of course, it slips a little bit further. Slips and slides right out just like that. Bam! Oh my god, isn't that freaking awesome? God! Wouldn't that be so cool if all your friends... Oh, wheels popped. Just like 2 loose bolts out, in. I know that, you know... Cox One experimented with a quick release or an easy release thing, but I think this design is really like what could be the future of a quick release type. Bam. Unicycle frame right there. I don't really know what the tolerances on these bearings are, but you know, if anyone wants to hit up Spencer Hochberg, and ask him about this design, feel free. I hope he's okay with me sharing this too. Come back one more time with this just so you can see it. Here, there's the Allens. Yeah. If you want to see the inside here, yeah, just like that. And then, of course, looking straight at it, you can get my fat fingers out of the way there. Slip up and over. Just like that. You probably all saw it the first time, but I'm doing it twice anyway. Like so. Sweet little edges here to catch your bearing. Nice little insert that lines up, can easily rotate, and probably easily be replaced. It looks like a pretty standard, I don't know what we would call it, a furniture component. Right here. And yeah, like I said, I already talked about that. I'm sitting on it. Oh my god. And the Allen key I was looking for earlier too. So the last one, if you guys don't have one of these, it's one of the ones I'm really interested in. I have these on 2 of my unicycles. I have one, which is a weird part, which we'll come back to later, but I use the Dave Moscow saddle adapters. This one's like fresh. It needs to be swapped for one that I stripped out. It's my fault. It's my fault that the part got messed up. This is 27mm. And what this works for anyone who doesn't know, this is fitted as the top of a seat post. So you can use any bike shop seat post 27.2 and lob the head of it off, put this on top and cinch it down with the cinch bolts here, and then attach your saddle to it normally. I just realized the way I've been talking, this is going to be absolute crap audio, but that's okay. They can't all be perfect. And then, of course, your bolts go in. It's directional, obviously. And this way, you don't have to continue to buy unicycle seat posts that are dedicated. You snap the head off. I don't know how many of you are snapping the heads of seat posts off all the time, but I'm doing it, quite a lot. Bit of a big boy, so snap these things. But I've always really enjoyed this part. It's one of my favorites. I think this is one of the things that, like, unicycle seat posts should like stop getting made, and like these should be like the replacement, because like I don't know how much it costs to make unicycle seat posts like in a factory manufacturing and all that, but I feel like if you could do away with it completely, it could save you a lot of money. Have a few people buy these for however much money they cost, and then unicycle.com can make billions of dollars selling just tubes instead of having to manufacture actual CPUs. Maybe a stupid idea, but I really enjoy the idea. I was wrong earlier. I thought I was out of weird parts. This isn't a weird part. It's more just a classic part. But I still use mine sometimes. I don't know many people who still use theirs. Not only that, we'll get to that part later. We'll get to that later. So over here I've relaced it on a more appropriate wheel now. But this is my original profile hub and crankset. You might notice that they are not set up on the right splines. I don't know who did that. That might have been me, and I might have even ridden on it like that too. If you guys don't know, this is an old school BMX hub. Back in the day, like 2000s, maybe 2005s, there wasn't a lot of options out there before Chris Holmes started producing them. And so this was actually a BMX company that made short enough cranks, because I think they make cranks for like kids. And that's profile. And I bought them way, way, way back in the day because they had a lifetime warranty. And was always been riding a lot. So I was like, yeah, I'll get these cranks in case I break them. And then if I break them, they'll get replaced. And you know what? Years and years and years went by, and I never broke them. After probably 10 years, they started to like bend just a little bit. Not if you ride a lot, you get used to the bends in your pedals and the bends in your cranks or tweaks, and then it feels like normal riding. But eventually they bent a little bit, and I moved on to Moment parts and other aluminum hubs and Chris Home hubs and things like that, and everything switched to ISIS. This is a 48 spline hub with a 48 spline crank. Crazy, I know. But I was like, I'm trying to keep the unicycles. You make sure I don't have any junk parts at home, and rebuild my unicycles. And I emailed Profile and had my receipt still from Bedford Unicycles. That's where I bought my Profile hub and crankset from. And Profile still honored it. I think almost 20 years later, they gave me a brand new set of cranks when I sent my old ones in. These ones, however, I thought they were nice, so I was like, you know what? I do want to modify these cranks, so I'm going to say thanks, Profile, for everything you've done for me. And if this crank dies, like, it's on me, because I chopped the little nubbin off on the inside. Normally you couldn't do that, but I think all the new aluminum frames that are out there are a little wider than the old steel frames, and so that nub just hit the aluminum, and I couldn't ride with it, so I had to chop it off eventually. But I was like, you know what, Profile's done me good, so I'll eat it if these cranks go. Assuming I'm gonna ride it. It turns into one of our club unicycles a little bit more often. Well, guys, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. It's just my weird parts. I hope people have questions about these parts. If you have any questions, please ask me. You can DM me on Instagram at PhilOnUni. This is still going to be part of the Unicast for the foreseeable future. Guys, I'm just getting into this. I'm hoping to do an episode a week. That might be too much. That might be too much unicycling and unicycle talk. But frankly, I can go on and on and on and just never stop talking about unicycling. I promise I'll stop the clicking too. That's a habit I notice I have only since I've been recording. So hopefully we can get used to it. I think we all get better at this stuff over time. Thanks for the feedback, guys. Uh, right now, I'm running social media for the USA. I haven't been doing a great job. It's been a pandemic, and honestly, I have not received as much social content as I would have thought from people. So if you have some content you want to share with me, if you'd like to be featured on the USA page, please send me some pictures or videos that will be featured on Facebook and our Instagram at social at uniusa.org. Again, that's social at uniusa.org. Don't give me too much crap if I keep looking at myself. I'm just not used to recording time myself, but I hope to get used to it pretty quick. Thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed being here. Ripley enjoyed being here too, in case you're wondering.